An old man cut open a stalk of bamboo and found a child inside, the size of his hand and shining. In 3 months, she was a grown woman, and there was no one in the country to compare her to. 5 of the greatest lords in Japan came for her. She sent all 5 after things that do not exist. The emperor asked. She refused the emperor. And then, one summer, she began to sit outside at night and look at the moon and cry. She had not been sent to us as a gift. She had been sent here as a punishment, and her sentence was almost over. Her people were coming to take her back. An army was waiting for them. An army was not going to be enough. This is the story of Kaguyahime, the princess from the moon. It is the oldest surviving tale in Japan. This story is not from the chronicles, and it did not come from the villages. It came from a book, the oldest surviving tale in Japan, written in Japanese more than 1,000 years ago by someone who never put their name on it. I am a Japanese storyteller, and I return to the Japanese sources to bring their words and their world into English, with some moments dramatized for a modern audience. Long ago, there was an old man who cut bamboo. He had made baskets and blinds from it all his life, and he and his wife had no children. One morning, one stalk in the grove was lit from inside. He cut it open, and sitting in the hollow, less than 4 inches tall, was a girl. "You were in the bamboo I look after every morning," he said. "Then you were meant to be mine." He carried her home in his 2 hands, and his wife raised her in a basket because she was small enough to lose. And from that morning, whenever he cut bamboo, he found gold packed into the joints. The poorest man in the village stopped being poor. The girl grew, not the way children grow. In 3 months, she was fully grown and so beautiful that the house did not need lamps. When the old man came home in pain, he would look at her and it would stop hurting. They called in a man whose work was naming, and he gave her a name that meant shining, Kaguyahime. And then the men started coming. They came from every province and stood outside her fence in the rain until they had worn a hole in it, looking through. Most went home. 5 did not. 5 of the highest-ranked men in the country, until the old man said to her, "I am over 70. Choose one." And Kaguyahime said, "I cannot see inside a man, so let each of them bring me one thing." To the first, the stone begging bowl of the Buddha in India. To the second, a branch from the tree on Mount Horai in the Eastern Sea. Roots of silver, trunk of gold, fruit of white jewels. To the third, the robe of the fire red of China, the cloth that will not burn. To the fourth, the 5-colored jewel on the neck of a dragon. To the fifth, the cowrie shell a swallow carries when it lays its eggs. These were things out of scripture and legend and far countries. Nothing any man alive could bring back. Every one of them heard the refusal inside the task. Not one could let it end there. The prince sent for the Buddha's bowl, took a sooty black bowl off an altar in a hill temple, and wrapped it in brocade. The Buddha's bowl should have shone. It did not glow like a firefly. The prince sent for the jeweled branch never left the country. He boarded a ship where people could see him, came quietly back, and shut 6 of the finest craftsmen in Japan in a workshop for 3 years. She was holding the branch, beginning to believe it, when the craftsman arrived at her gate, asking to be paid. The lord who bought the fire-red robe paid a sum that emptied him. Kaguyahime looked at it and said, If it does not burn, there is no harm in burning it. It burned very well. The Lord who went after the dragon met a storm at sea and came home with his eyes swollen up like two dark plums, telling everyone that no one was ever to speak that woman's name in his house again. The last suitor sent for the swallow's shell is the one this story does not forgive. He had himself hauled up in a basket at night to reach into a nest in the roof of the imperial kitchens. He shouted that he had it, and the rope gave. His hand was still closed when they reached him. He opened it. He was holding old droppings. He never got up again. Kaguyahime heard he was dying and sent him a poem. He lifted his head, wrote an answer, and died as he finished it. When they told her, she felt a little sorry for him, the only pity she shows anyone in this story. Word of her reached the emperor. He sent a woman of his court to look at her, and Kaguyahime would not come out. He offered the old man rank and office if she would enter the palace. The old man went to her almost begging. She said, "If you force me, I will disappear before it happens." So the emperor did what an emperor can do. He announced a hunting trip, arranged the route past their house, and walked in without warning. And there she was, standing in a room full of light with no lamp in it. He took hold of her sleeve to lead her out, and she went out the way a flame goes out. Where she had been standing, there was a shape made of light and nothing to hold. He let go and said, "Then stay," and she came back. He never asked again. For 3 years they wrote to each other, poems back and forth, across a distance neither of them closed. It is the closest thing to happiness in this story. Then in the spring, she began to look at the moon. By the 7th month, she went out every clear night to watch it and came in with her face wet. The old couple asked what was wrong. She said it was nothing. It was not nothing. On a night in the 8th month, she told them, "I am not from this country. I am from the capital of the moon. I came into this world because of a bond made long ago, and my time here is finished. On the 15th night of this month, they are coming for me." The old man said, "I found you in a stalk of bamboo. You are mine. Let them come." She said, "I know. That is what makes it unbearable." The emperor sent 2,000 men. 1,000 of them stood along the top of the earth wall. 1,000 more went up on the roof with bows strung. The old woman took Kaguyahime into a windowless storeroom and held on to her. The old man locked that door and sat down outside it. Around midnight, the sky turned white. Not lightning, light, steady and stronger than noon. Afterwards, they said, you could see the pores on a man's face by it. A cloud came down and stopped, floating 5 feet above the ground. There were people standing on it. The archers reached for their bows and could not lift their arms. The few who got an arrow away watched it go sideways into the dark at nothing. The storeroom door opened by itself. The old woman was holding on to nothing, and Kaguyahime was outside, and no one had seen her walk. The man at the front of the cloud spoke, and his voice was not loud. "Bamboo cutter, you were given her for one small good thing you once did, and you have been rich all these years for it. She was serving a sentence in a filthy place. That is finished. Stand back." She asked for time to write. She wrote to the old couple first. "If I had been born in this world," she wrote, "I would have stayed until you had nothing left to grieve about. Then the people from the cloud came forward with the robe of feathers, and she said, "Wait. Once I put that on, my heart will be a different heart. There is one more letter I have to write while it is still mine." And she wrote to the emperor and left it with the elixir of life, enough to never die. Then they put the robe over her shoulders, and every thought she had for the old man and the old woman simply went out, the way a lamp goes out. She got into the flying carriage. She did not look back, not because she was cruel, but because there was no longer anyone inside her who would have wanted to. The light went up, the yard went dark. 2,000 armed men stood in it, and not one of them had been able to do anything at all. 3 things you only see from inside Japan. First, this is where Japan's written tales begin. Around the year 1000, the Tale of Genji calls this one the ancestor at the beginning of Monogatari, the first of the written tales. That is why we still call it the first. No one knows who wrote it. There is one more thread. The Kojiki, completed in 712, the chronicle behind the first stories on this channel, names a Kaguyahime among the consorts of an emperor. The shared name may be an echo, it is only a theory, but that record is 2 centuries older than this tale. Second, the tale is funnier and crueler in Japanese. 3 of the 5 suitors carry the names of real statesmen who served the court around the year 700. Abe no Miyushi, Otomo no Miyuki, Iso no Kami no Maro. The second has long been read as a portrait of Fujiwara no Fuhito, one of the most powerful men of that age. A scholar's reading, not something the text says. It is why the tale is often taken as court satire. And the failures are word jokes. The last suitor found no kai, no shell, and all of it was for no kai. No use, nothing gained. The tale offers that as the origin of the phrase kai nashi, in vain. Many Japanese speakers still say it without knowing the tale gives it this joke. Third, the moon here is not romantic. Kaguyahime is not a bride. She is serving out a sentence in what her own people call a filthy place, and the robe they bring is not a gown. It is the thing that empties her. The most frightening idea in Japan's oldest tale is that being taken to a perfect world means losing everyone you loved in the imperfect one. And the emperor? He asked which mountain in Japan was closest to the sky. They told him, the one in Suruga. He sent his men up it with her letter and the elixir of life, and had them burn both at the summit. He did not want to live forever in a world she was not in. And the tale ends on its own wordplay. So many warriors climbed that mountain, it says, that it took their name, Fuji, the mountain of warriors, and what burned up there was the fushi, the medicine of not dying. That is wordplay, not history, but it is the last line of Japan's oldest surviving tale, and the line is this: the smoke from that fire is still going up. Next time, we go back further than any of this, to 2 gods on a floating bridge in the sky, stirring an empty ocean with a spear to see what comes up on the end of it. If you want these stories the way Japan tells them, subscribe.